Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Show Day podcast. I'm Hayden, joined by Thomas for today's episode, and we're super happy to also be joined by three instructors from the Drum Major Leadership Academy, or DMLA, Joshua Hecht, Geneva, and Emma Boone. Thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast today. All right, to start, could you guys tell us a little bit about each of you and kind of what role each of you play within the marching arts?
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and start. Hey everyone, my name is Joshua Hecht. I'm a current drum major with Music City Drum Corps based out of Nashville, Tennessee. I also serve as the drum major coordinator with the Southern Knights Drum and Bugle Corps from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a business management major over at Florida State University and the founder and director of the Drum Major Leadership Academy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emma Boone. I'm currently on my second year with the Blue Devils Melphone section, or I guess second, third, whatever. So I marched last summer. I also marched Mandarins 17 and 18. I'm also the drum major for the UCLA Bruin Marching Band. I will be in my third year of doing that and in my last year of college at UCLA where I'm studying music education. And then I teach at various schools in the district, visual, leadership, music. So yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Geneva. I am from the North Texas area. This year would have been my second summer as a conductor for the Phantom Regiment. Before that, I had some drum major experience in high school. I recently just transferred to Texas State University, continuing to pursue a degree in music ed. And I also teach at some schools, but that's clarinet private lessons. And I am the relations coordinator with DMLA.
Nice. Could you tell us a little bit about DMLA and what you strive to do as an organization?
Yeah, for sure. So DMLA, or the Drum Major Leadership Academy, is an educational group whose mission is to help elevate and transform the leaders of tomorrow. And what I mean by that is we are one of the few educational organizations that have content and curriculum that's specifically developed for drum majors, section leaders, field conductors, and all other student leader positions within the marching arts activity. We work with a team of about 50 educators and have quickly grown to become the leading producer in virtual conducting and leadership training within the marching arts. We've served over 1,000 students so far this year alone through private lessons, school clinics, regional workshops, virtual summer camps, and look forward to many, many, many more opportunities to come. And Hayden, I know you were actually at one of our camps a while back, so it's great to be talking with you again today.
Yeah, it was definitely a great experience, and I'd recommend it to anyone either that already is a student leader or is looking to become one and learn what it takes to do that within their band program.
Yeah, there's so much knowledge and passion and just energy brought from every member of our team. And, even for me, like not really working from the student perspective, there's been so much that I've learned from each and every individual here too. So I highly recommend it,
Yes.
Much like you as well. I learn a lot each and every day too. So I've had so much fun.
Nice. Emma, what do you say is the biggest difference between college band and drum corps based on your experience?
So based on my experience, I think both are definitely equally as fun and enjoyable. I know, like it's not for everyone, people who do drum corps are doing college band and vice versa, actually. So it's kind of two different worlds that I'm kind of in between. But I had to say, I think the biggest difference is almost like the closeness and the relationships you form with people. When you're in drum corps, you're on buses, you're sleeping in gyms, you're with these people literally for so many days, for literally the entire summer. And you see them throughout, the year at various camps, and you just get to know them and you get kind of really personal, really close relationships. I know most of basically all my best friends have done drum corps. It's just because you get that opportunity to get to meet them and get close with them. And at the same time, you get this world-class instruction, anywhere you are, from literally hundreds of people almost every summer, it feels like, because there's people that come in and out. They're there for a week and you've taken so much knowledge from them. So it's definitely much more of a learning experience. And of course, the main thing that people would say is different, oh yeah, it's a competition based, but I don't know. I don't really think about that. I think about kind of the experience that I have. I don't do drum corps just, like many people, we don't do drum corps just to be competitive. You know, it's just because we enjoy the activity and kind of the drive that comes that competitiveness creates for us. And so I'd say that's the biggest difference. And like, obviously, I think college band is basically all the good things about drum corps. And it's like there's no pressure again because there's no competitions or anything. And you're just there, you know, you're having a football game, you learn a show, you know. I like, in my opinion, it's definitely a lot easier. But at the same time, I feel like I can almost find a little bit more enjoyment just because there's less stress of waking up early every day and doing this for the amount of day. Like all the time. So definitely band camp right after drum corps is an absolute breeze for me. I know a lot of people can't say the same because they haven't done anything all summer. Then they come to band camp and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so tiring. Whereas I've just spent the entire summer, you know, doing this. And I'm like, this is the easy level.
Yeah.
So, but it's just finding more opportunities with that. I wouldn't say it's like, you know, it's maybe easier in a different way, but also at the same time harder, just because then you have this whole community that you're with the entire, you know, let's say 4 years, 2 years, however much time you're in your band program. But you kind of have to find and search for ways to bond, to get to meet people, especially during band camp. It's kind of crazy, but just because, you know, you're going to be spending a more long-term amount of time with these people.
And Emma, if you don't mind, I would love to add something on that. I totally agree with everything that you're saying. And I think one of the key points, like with what you're saying too, is that every program, regardless if it's high school or college or drum corps or sound sport, like whatever it might be, indoor guard, like all of those things, they each have a different balance of responsibilities and opportunities that you're having to face. Like, you know, with drum corps, you're not having to worry about schoolwork. You're not having to worry about those labs like that you were talking about. So you can really just fully focus on putting the best show possible on the field. But when you get to another school program, whether it's a scholastic high school, whether it's college, whatever it might be, you're then having to also help balance and manage all of your school responsibilities, all of your other club responsibilities, your home, your chores, like whatever it might be. So there's definitely that balance, but it's not to say that one is necessarily more difficult than the other. It's just saying that there's a different balance of each with what you're doing on the field versus the other things you have in life. So I completely agree with what you're saying. And like, you know, finding that passion and meaning, that's the one thing that translates through all of them, is the energy and the passion and the meaning that you're bringing to every single rehearsal and to every single person around you. But again, it goes back to that balance. It's not one's really, really hard, one's really, really easy, because it's just a different level of both.
All right, next question to you, Josh. What is your advice for aspiring drum majors at all levels, from high school to drum corps to college and everything on the marching art spectrum?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think one of the biggest things about becoming or being an amazing drum major really comes down to your leadership. So it's important to remember, you know, being a leader is not about being in charge. It's about caring and inspiring the people who are in your charge. I know servant leadership is like a huge, huge, huge personal sacrifice, and it's one that we lead by example with each and every single day. And for anyone who's looking to become a drum major or aspiring for any leadership position, you know, that all begins now. It's not when you earn that title, but it begins today. As leaders, we give credit when things go well, and when things don't, we're the people that take the blame. Because as a leader, like it's no longer about us. It's about each and every single member that you serve. And being able to kind of adopt that mentality early is going to be really, really helpful for your success in your program. You've probably seen like the drum majors and the section leaders before you. They're some of the first people to arrive and set up for rehearsal, and then they're the last to leave after cleaning up afterwards. And again, it just goes back to that servant leadership mentality. We find the balance of leading for, collaborating with, and following alongside the members of our program. And we do each of those with the goal of further supporting and motivating them to be at their natural best. And I think one of the most important things to remember is that just like conducting, leadership is a skill, and it's one that we have to practice each and every day, whether we have the title or not. Because respect isn't something that's earned with a position. It's earned because of the work that we put in, because of the people that we are, and the opportunities and abilities that we help inspire in others. I know that's a lot. I just said so many words right there, but it's something I really, really believe in. And the truth is, it can become pretty tiring also. So, you know, looking after yourself, having a great network of people you can rely on, whether it's your other leadership, whether it's a really good trusted friend in or outside of your program. If we can't be there for ourselves, then we can't be there for others. So take care of yourself, lead by example in all you do, and continue earning that role each and every day you can. Again, it's not from that title that you're going to have that respect. It's because of the person you are and the energy that you put in every single day. One of the things and this is like the final thing I promise, I tell our students at the end of every workshop and camp that DMLA does, I'm like, be confident in yourself. Be honest, be humble, and ultimately be yourself and have fun. Because with that, you will be undeniable in that position, and you will undeniably be the best person for that position.
Yeah, and Geneva, in your opinion, what are the best things high school band students can do to lead and give back to their programs, no matter where they are standing within their organization?
Okay, this is a fantastic question. So, really quickly, I kind of wanted to bridge the gap a little bit between what Josh was saying and then kind of what I want to provide as well. So, when Josh says servant leadership, I think people's ears perk up because we've all heard that before. And I think that's great. And I think that that's a great phrase to have in anyone's vocabulary, title or not, in band or not, while you're doing band or not. But to really extend the definition of that, I think, is to recognize that that means there is no definite end or definite boundaries to what leadership is. You know, servant leadership isn't, okay, I put in my time in my high school for 4 years and that's the cap on my commitment to that thing. You know, servant leadership is also creating that legacy for yourself and passing the torch and investing in other members and other leaders by using your positive influence to help grow the influence of other people. It's something that extends beyond, you know, it's not a shift that you take at work. You know, it's a matter of integrity. And so I think, to go along with the question you're asking about high school band students, is to understand that whatever title is or is not attached before or after your name, you have just as much potential to create positive impact as anyone else around you. You know, I think that there's this illusion almost that because you're given a certain perception, and I'm just saying this because this is how I felt, especially my first year of being in student leadership with the title. I felt like, I want to be a drum major because I feel like that gives me the platform to influence other people in the way that I want to, which sounds really commendable. And I felt like it was a good reason. And I still do think to some extent that can be a really good reason for some people. But I think that's a really easy way to get burned out. And it's also a really easy way to sometimes undermine the really hard work and the really great potential that other members have in your program that do not have your title. So, for example, if you are that freshman member that is struggling a lot with some things, really enthusiastic about a lot of other things, you know, you're kind of new to the band program, but you know that you want to be able to affect it in some positive way, shape, or form, do not let the placement of titles for you or beyond you to keep you from feeling empowered to do something good and great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are certain channels, of course, that you have to go through in kind of the band structure in order to get your influence known and to get your word out there to make a positive impact. But there are so many day-to-day things that you can do by leading by example that isn't confined to any sort of title and any sort of person. You know, you can be the best example in the entire band program and be the newest member there. That's just, there's no rule saying you can't be that person, you know? And I think that's something that people forget oftentimes. And I think out of really great intention, sometimes directors and student leaders themselves unintentionally put so much weight on empowering people already with titles that there's also a converse effect, I think, of not giving people without titles the ability to see their own platform. But at the end of the day, what we really want is for everyone to be a leader in your program, including that freshman member, including that member with more accessibility problems, including that member that struggles a lot more with their skill sets but has a really great personality and really enthusiastic attitude. That's what that is about. And I would also say all of that is a lot of responsibility. And I think we might delve into this later. but it's just really important, I think, to remember that you're still in high school and you can't have the weight of the world on your shoulders all the time.
Geneva, there were so many things in there that I was just like, yes, 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 yes. And one of the things that you said early on was, about helping lift up the people around you. And there was this quote I heard once that, your band should not be at your best because you're there. The band should be at its best because of the people that you help leave behind, because of what you've been able to help inspire them to do. And to kind of further what you were saying too about taking care of yourself, you can't be there for others if you can't be there for yourself, and you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself either. So Geneva, exactly like you're saying, to be at your best for your program, you have to be at your best for yourself first, and finding that time for self-care, self-reflection, and just to relax and refresh yourself is so, so important for the success, not only of your program, but for each and every person who you serve with. And I completely agree with that. That's awesome.
Real quick, before we move on to our final question for you guys, what would you say the split would be as a aspiring drum major as to the leadership traits you need to possess, but also the conducting skills you need to have to effectively do the job?
I'm a huge believer of this, and I know that people will have various opinions about this, and that's great and that's fine. I think the baseline thing is that if we're talking percentages and ratios, the amount of leadership you put in should be more than the amount of conducting work and time that you put in. And whatever that ratio is, I think that there needs to be that shift, and there needs to be a greater amount of time working on your leadership and doing leadership specific things as opposed to conducting. I think when you're starting to be a drum major, that difference, those differences in percentages will probably be not as drastic. So maybe 60-40, right? 60 leadership, 40 conducting, because you're just starting to learn the skill set. More than likely you're just starting to learn it, and that might be something you need to spend a lot more time on just to get used to the demands of that role from a musical standpoint, and even maybe from a physical standpoint. I don't want to discount that either. But I think every year beyond that, it should shift another 10%. So I'm in my technically 5th year of drum majoring, and I would say that I'm like 90-10. And that's not to say you should start slacking on your conducting abilities, but like other skill sets, you build a really strong foundation to start, and then you can start adding on nuances and do continual checkups. But it shouldn't be the number one thing on your mind as a drum major, in my opinion. Especially by default, it shouldn't be the very first thing you're thinking of is how you're conducting something. You want to be good enough at it for long enough that it becomes more muscle memory to understand the instinct of being a conductor on the field, so that you can worry about and focus more of your time on the things that are much more fluid day to day. Your music for a show isn't going to change half as much as the members' growth in your program for a season, or the circumstances you're going to go through in a season are going to be a lot more different year to year than how your 4/4 pattern looks. So that's how I feel about a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree completely, Geneva. It's like you can't be fully one or the other, because you'll either be this incredible conductor, but just an absolute rude and mean person, for example, without having any sense of leadership whatsoever. And you might be incredible on the podium, but no one in that ensemble is going to trust that person to actually be a good communicator of tempo if they can't trust them to lead, right? So just like you're saying, Geneva, it's totally about that ratio. And I think what's so great about what you're saying too is that there isn't really a perfect ratio. It's something that's always changing, because there's not a perfect example of a leader. Every single person in their program brings a different quality, brings a different essence, and just kind of persona and philosophy to what they're doing. There was something that I think you said in one of our camps previously that just shook my mind. For a little background, we start all of our events by defining some key values of leadership. Leaders are respectful, leaders can communicate, leaders are proactive, whatever it might be. And at the end of the day, Geneva, I think you said something like, we talked about all of these great values up front, and all of those are really, really solid. But, if we're saying leaders can project, that doesn't make them a good leader. That just makes them loud. And like exactly with what you're saying too, there's not a perfect ratio because it's something that we all grow and we all bring a unique characteristic too. And it's something that we all experience differently. But to kind of agree with your point, Geneva, it's definitely both, but finding that right balance for you and your program and what will make every single person in it to become their natural best, that's really what it's all about. I agree completely. That's awesome.
Okay, and something that Josh just said reminded me of, it says like no leader is perfect and everyone brings their own thing. And like one of my favorite examples is like my drum major team at UCLA. I've been with the same two other guys as drum majors for the past 2 years, and I will be again. We're all in the same year, and like we all bring something totally different. And we've been really lucky to get to work with the same leadership team these like basically 3 years now, and like over these years we've gotten to just discover. I wish like every leadership team could work together for like at least more than a year, because like how powerful would our programs be? But like we've discovered like what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and how can we help each other, like how we work together, what I can do for this person, what he can do for me, and stuff. And we're also bringing in a new leader this year, and she also has just amazing ideas. And so it's just kind of a really cool thing. And that's just my favorite thing. That's why I love this team a lot, because of those differences. And I think like another thing that I've experienced a lot with working with high schools and high school drum major teams is that the conducting part also goes into the ensemble and your responsibility and timing, and the band's facing this way, or I need to be on top of the beat here, I need to look at the center snare's feet here. It's like I've experienced that comes with so much stress with having to deal with that and having that kind of ensemble responsibility, because of course you can be great at conducting and whatnot, but it's those little logistical things that I think people get stressed about a lot too. So I know I just wanted to shout out to a reminder to just look to your director, look to people, because I think it can get really stressful, because sometimes it seems like that whole responsibility is in your hands, and like if it does not go well, it is like your fault. And I just want to remind everybody to understand that it's like probably one of the hardest things that you're dealing with, and to continue to communicate with your drumline, with your section leaders, to continue to communicate with your directors and your staff. We'll just help you with that. I just wanted to shout that out, because I remembered that was a thing that was super stressful for me in high school when I was a drum major. So that's just like a little tip out there.
Yes. And like with what you're saying too, we're looking at the people around us, whether it's their personality and how they interact with the team, or like you're saying, asking your directors and ensemble members for help. A really good quote that one of our instructors mentioned at camp was, leaders learn. And whether that's learning from others or what we're doing and how it's affecting others, we learn from the successes and failures, not only of ourselves, but of the people around us, to ultimately be the best that we can be for our team and for our program. Much like conducting, you'll start conducting by watching your favorite conductors on YouTube, people whose style you really, really like. And that's looking outwardly. You then kind of focus that introspectively. You watch yourself in a mirror, you videotape yourself, whatever it might be. But you're learning from others and then looking at yourself too, and seeing how you can help make that even better. So Emma, with what you're saying, I think that's spot on. That's awesome.
All right, thanks guys. So last question, what is one secret or tip that you each have for a student leader to be successful, both within the marching band activity, but also just as a good leader, as a person?
Josh talked about this a little bit earlier, but when you asked him kind of his question, and he talked about being confident and being, again, aware and like trust in yourself, because, through these camps we've done, through teaching, I've just noticed that so many student leaders are they have maybe trouble with people in their section, or they're, most of their concerns are about like, what can I do better? Like I feel like I'm not doing enough, and they don't, or they're like, they're just dealing with all these dilemmas. And like, I just want to tell them like and I try to tell them like, you were chosen for this position. And like the fact that you're already worrying about like how you could be better, it's like says so much about yourself as a leader, because if you're not looking to be better, then, how good really are you? But, I love that, we have those people, but at the same time, I feel like almost people worry too much about like, oh my gosh, I'm messing up everything. And because I know being a student leader, whether you're a drum major, whether you're a section leader, you have so much pressure on you that you feel from your section, from your drum majors, if you're a section leader, from your director. But really, it's not, they're all there. Those people are all there to help you and to support you, just like you're trying to support them. So one thing that my band director told me, because I was this huge worry queen, I would come into his office all the time and be like, what should I do? Can I do this? Is this okay? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd ask him for permission for everything. And he just goes, and I learned so much from this, and he just goes, Emma, because he also had a lot to deal with, and he did not need me coming in all the time asking him all these questions because I doubted myself. And he said 9 times out of 10, the decisions you make, like if you decide to make a decision, if you say yes or no, if the band doesn't know where to rehearse and no one's giving you information, if you just make a decision, then 9 times out of 10 you'll be correct. There'll be that one time out of 10 times that you will mess up, and it's going to not be the end of the world whatsoever because everybody makes mistakes. And so I started living by that and just starting to trust myself. And again, this confidence isn't supposed to be like a cocky confidence, but it's supposed to you can't really lead this whole group of people and get them to trust you if you don't trust the decisions you're making and trust that you've been here for a reason and that you're chosen, and trust in your ability, especially since you're already working so hard. So that's kind of my little tip I'd like to give student leaders or just anyone looking to be in this, is just to have faith in yourself and believe, and again, look to others for help, but at the same time, be confident in your abilities.
I think that is a really fantastic way to describe what I say sometimes to new drum majors, which is you have to learn how to have an intuition almost.
Yeah.
Like you can have a list of things that you have to get done and do, and you can be that person full of worry, which many of us in leadership positions or who are leaders in general have. We have that really strong ability to worry and to be nervous about making decisions. But part of being a leader is having an intuition. And that's something you can practice like anything else. But it's kind of like whenever you're going on a roller coaster for the first time and you're really nervous and you're really scared, and the first time's the hardest time. And it's going to probably be okay. Just like Emma was saying, 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be okay. But then you go on it and it's great, and it gets easier and easier every single time. And that's you growing an intuition. It's you growing a taste for this ability to trust in yourself, which for a roller coaster is like a thrill. But in leadership, it's something that saves you a lot of time, right? Because, and Emma, correct me if I'm wrong, but spending all that time worrying about what decision to make is so much time you could be spending doing and going through with a
decision. That's I realized that on my own. Yes.
And that's, I think most drum majors and most leaders go through that period. But that's an excellent point, Emma. I just wanted to talk about the word intuition in particular.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Geneva, what you're saying about taking that time and thinking about, is this decision the right one? I drive myself crazy, even to this day, when I'm sending an email or a text or just a Snapchat, whatever it might be. I'm like, is this word the best word for this sentence? As a leader, if you're focusing all your time on being the absolute best in everything you do, you're not going to get anywhere. And one of the most important things, just like you're saying, to remember is that as a leader, you're not going to be the best at everything. There's going to be, or actually every single member in your ensemble is going to be better than you at something. Not everything, but everyone will be better at something than you are. And, as a leader, ultimately, the thing is just to prove that you're the best person for the position. Not because of how great of a performer you are, not because of how high you toss a rifle or how many skills, whatever it might be, not because you can write the best sentence in the world, but because you're in it for the right reasons and you can help others be the best version of themselves and inspire them to achieve things that they never thought was possible. And, that's a process that, especially right now, in kind of the virtual landscape that we're living in, that's something that starts right now with reaching out to others. A quick text or a short phone call goes a really, really long way. And I was talking to one of our other instructors about this a few weeks ago, Alex Arbeiter. He's actually the drum major over at FSU. But he was saying, for incoming freshmen, every single year, he would make a call with his drum major team to all 500 members. And
Oh my.
it goes back to like, you only have one chance at a first impression, all of those other kind of quotes and stuff like that. But those personal relationships with every member means everything. And kind of a thing that I always say to remember this is the 3 Ps: positive, professional, and personal. And if you can have those types of relationships sustained with every single member in your program, then you will undeniably be one of the best leaders for them. Again, it goes back to being in it for the right reasons, making those decisions, having the confidence in yourself and in others too, and being able to trust them. Things start with integrity and it ends with trust. So everything else that happens in that process is what's going to help make you the most incredible leader that you can possibly be for your program.
A big thanks to Josh, Geneva, and Emma for coming on the podcast this week. As always, it's greatly appreciated. We'll be back again soon for another episode of the Show Day podcast. Thanks for listening. Until then, stay safe and have a great rest of your day.